Good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday, February 2nd, and this is Morning Market Movers, where we look at hotspots for the markets for the day. We do some live analysis for day trading. I am Todd Rich with Nadex. With me, Jin from Keep Trading Simple, as well as Brian Caprice from
I'm
Keep
here too.
Trading Simple. I love having Jin on the show. It's my favorite. What do we got going on today? Just from the high level. Sorry, we had to start just a moment late this morning. We do have some things that are coming out this morning that we want to discuss. Uh, no, we're not going to be talking about the Washington Commanders. No, we're not going to be talking about Groundhog. Punxsutawney Phil seeing his shadow, although he did. And yeah, I think I know we're getting more winter because we got half a foot of snow here in Chicago. But what we are going to talk about, one, ADP payrolls. We had a drop. Was expecting to have 200,000 employees added over the last month in the private sector. Instead, it was negative 300,000. So we're off by 500,000 jobs. Employers actually drew back, which we're starting to think that might have been Omicron related. We also have got. We're seeing a bit of dollar weakness, and then we are going to talk about the energies. We're talking about energies, oil taking off. We've got OPEC meeting all day. We've got the oil inventory report later this morning. Natural gas taking off again. So energies are really the hot spot that we want to get into, but we will take a look a little bit about how ADP payrolls have affected the indices a little bit. And then, if we have some time, we could take a look at the dollar weakness continuing a little bit. So that turnaround has happened. And then the only other thing I could think of is maybe we chat about Google. I mean, absolutely blowing out their numbers, which impact the NASDAQ. But it's interesting we say it impacts the NASDAQ. They're also doing a 20-for-1 stock split, which will bring the price of Google back into the $120, $130 range, which would potentially put that for contention, Google, Alphabet, in contention for inclusion in the Dow. Kind of curious. We'll see. That might be the reason they did that, because the Dow is a price-weighted index, and if you understand how indices are calculated, that would be kind of interesting, because all of a sudden you'd have one of these big, potentially have one of these big tech-heavy stocks in the telecom communications sector. We'll see how that ends up playing out. Before I flip it over to Brian, I do need to share this disclaimer that trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for everyone, that any trading decisions you make are solely your responsibility and at your own risk. And this is an educational session. Please do not construe anything Brian or I say as a buy or sell recommendation, or Jin for that matter. This is an educational session.
Maybe buying stock today, so just
It just quickly, I wanted to show you could see nat gas absolutely taking off again. It's just been driving higher as we've gotten colder, driving back up into that mid 5 range, and we know it got as high as 6.5 back before winter, which was odd. And crude oil also, and we've got OPEC meeting all day, and we've got that oil inventory report. So we'll definitely, energy is really the hot spot. So Brian, let me flip it over to you, and we can take a look at headline news, energy, payrolls, and then maybe if we got time, some dollar weakness and equities.
Yeah, we mentioned that today and tomorrow are really going to, really today, tomorrow, and Friday are all going to be big news-based days. We started with Spanish unemployment today, and again, you say, what does that matter? The forecast was super, super negative, and it came in positive. And, the headlines out of there, we're seeing record high inflation, and now there is, I can't find it now, but it's down here. Oh, yeah. Here it is right here. Record inflation in the euro, and they're talking about how there's even more continued pressure for them to start raising rates. We know that is coming in tomorrow, so it could be a great day, and we're seeing the euro rally off of it. It is down versus the pound just a little bit, but again, they're talking about now there's political pressure, and to get this thing raised, and we'll find out on Thursday. Are they going to raise it tomorrow? Probably not, right? Probably not tomorrow, but they're going to tell us when they are and what the policy is going forward. And again, remember the European Union can move pretty quickly. The linchpin that we mentioned yesterday is going to be the Ukraine. not too much has happened, with that. After that, we had OPEC. Now, OPEC, remember, this is where I mentioned that Russia, I expected them to do absolutely zero. I forget, there was one of the big banks said that, they're with the current surge in price, they're going to raise it. And then I forget who, another one of the other ones was like, no, they're probably going to keep it, and they're going to blame it on political instability, with the Ukraine. That's exactly what they did. They basically just agreed that they're going to follow the current path. Right, we're not doing anything. We're going to agree to do the output hike, which was already planned. They've not increased it at all, and because of it, oil, nice spike, blew right through. You can see here in the last hour and a half, just launching forward. So OPEC is not done. Above and beyond that, here's your oil inventory, your industry-specific API report. It also showed that we had a down draw, and the forecast is that we were going to have a surplus. So even more fundamental factors jumping into it. All those predictions of 95, 96, maybe even 98 this year, and the high regions of 106. All these factors, if you're looking at fundamental trading, they're all going to send this. All of it is shooting straight forward. Now, after that, again, this is like bam, bam, bam. 8:15, we had the ADP report. Now, the ADP report isn't the big one. The big one is really the total job numbers. That's on Friday. This is just ADP. This is just private. This is not all, right?
Yep.
And this one was way off last time. Last time it was over double, and they actually adjusted that back down again. They got a little bit too overzealous. And again, ADP, it's not hard to hit a button and say, what's the total? How many paychecks are we writing? Good. I'm not exactly sure how they could get it off by 35,000, but they did. It just goes to show you that things are off. And again, the forecast was 185. It came in as negative. Now, this is a double-double. You may say, oh my God, this is horrible. Not really, because think about it. What's really right now, we're seeing earnings. As you just mentioned, Google blew it out of the water. Some of the other tech companies blowing it out of the water. If we're losing all these jobs, these people are blowing out of the water. That's great. When people see these red numbers, they're like, oh, we can't raise interest rates 0.5% because look, our economy is doing horrible. We're losing jobs again.
Yeah, it's starting to turn.
Omicron is the scapegoat for everything. I can say in this area, we have seen zero effects on Omicron. I don't know anybody laying people off. All I hear about is, man, we're trying to hire more people right now. We just can't find people to work for us. Yeah. So laying people off is not, they're not seeing that. I haven't seen that anywhere. And I know a number of different job owners, places, and the ones that were hardest hit, restaurants, actually 3 different restaurant people. They're all like, yeah, we just can't hire enough people. Everybody that comes to puts an application, we hire them. We'll definitely not let anybody go. So, I don't know. Not sure where this is coming from, but again, the one on Friday is going to be the one that matters the most. So again, a double-double is not bad. It kind of goes into a 0.25% raise, not a 0.5 raise for the next interest rate hike, which is good. That's going to be good for the economy. So this is where those bad is good type numbers. And then a little bit we have crude oil, and then we have Macklin speaking. Remember, I said that I expect Macklin to start moving in the for the CAD currency. Again, if we have oil spiking, we have oil inventories that are forecast to be high, but the industry report is telling us that it's a down draw, and we have Macklin speaking. Again, this could be some great, great CAD movement today as well.
Right.
And again, couple that with the dollar weakness that we've seen. So a lot in there. This is oil. I just kind of showed this one. I mentioned yesterday, if you love volatility, oil is not where it is. It's natural gas. So Todd showed it already, but with oil spiking through, I think today I think we get to 90 today in oil. Just my take on it. I think it's a big round number. I think people are looking for it.
$90 a barrel in oil.
Yeah, I can't just think if we had that pipeline, it would be at 60. I'm just saying. Yeah. Just saying. It's 1.5 times the where it should be. So, and we're begging them to produce more as at the same time that we're trying to put sanctions on one of the biggest speaking voices. Chilling out for a little bit is kind of what we're dealing with. But natural gas, which we got tons of, we got no problems here. Natural gas blew through that old top of $5, and now we're back up to $5.30 again. And again, it could be some of the groundhog, but a lot of this started with the Europeans. Here's the European session open today, starting at 3 o'clock. Right there, that little red candle. Actually, there was the one right before that. Straight up. Again, Europeans use a lot of natural gas. Any type of disruption in supply, and again, they probably know what some of the sanctions look like. Is going to drive it higher. Now they're going to need natural gas. I don't know if it's going to be us shipping natural gas or what it is, but they're going to have to get it from somewhere. So, Not surprised. I mentioned getting long this one. I was looking for a buy. I really wanted to get down to 440. It didn't. That the level of the gap actually is what took helped them out. And that's where they took off. And the Europeans have taken it. So there'll probably be a little bit of pullback today. It was up 12.5. Now it's only up 10.5. Hey, shh. See, she's much bigger now, guys. You saw the picture, and she's really, really little. I think she's 1. Now she's almost, she's 3.5.
We're gonna have
so
to fix that picture, by the way.
yeah, I know. Gonna have to get a
We'll
new
have to
one,
get
right?
that a fix.
Much older and rounder, and she is much bigger. But I think natural gas is just absolutely the wild, wild west right now. Again, that's why you should absolutely be trading this one with options. People that are trading through futures right now, they're probably it's got to be rough. So that's another hot spot for today. The indices are all at a level. Like we talked yesterday about getting long from the 44.88. You guys can see it's all the way up. It got close to that price target at 45.84. Starting to pull back a little bit right now as of like 7:30 this morning. So, it's a level where for purely technical traders, we should have selling coming in. So it's at the right spot. It's not necessarily news based at this point. I'm sure there will be retail traders that are like, oh my God, that jobs number is so bad. We got to hit sell. I mean, It's not affecting companies. Not one company has said, hey, our profits are down because we don't have enough employees. No, it's like, profits are good, but it's the chip shortages or it's inflation that's hurting us. Starbucks is the only one that said the employment situation, and that's not so much not having employees. It's because the unionization of the baristas is really kind of what they're worried about. They're saying that they demand more and they're trying to unionize Starbucks. So that's kind of where their employment situation issues. But we're not seeing any major trouble. So ES is kind of at a level a little bit higher on the curve. We have had sellers in this area. So it is kind of more set up for a short today, as well as looking at this. And again, we typically do 15 minutes for these. If you look, there's a level of basing right here that's been touched and bounced off of. And then you see this racetrack here from late yesterday afternoon. So
if it gets through there, you got some downside.
When we see these, we typically will look and say, hey, wait a second, there's a little bit of a Harry Potter short there. And again, 1 to 3 is right here in perfect, it's in line with where our perfect target would be. So it could be a little short setup here, again, especially when the retail trader can look at that red number and say, oh, this is so bad. NQ. So I know NQ ended up bouncing
strong. Those Google earnings were nuts.
Yeah, it's strong. And here's the top number where we had the sellers. It's the very, very top of the fib draw that we use. And you can see it took 2 little bounces in the European session, also pulling back from that same level at 15,049. We talked about it breaking through yesterday. We actually mentioned that we're looking for the breakthrough here past the 78.6. It ended up basing through, and it did. It just never pulled back, unfortunately. So it would have been harder to go in, but we did have our target at the top, and it is pulling back. It's kind of the same scenario. I see this one being negative too. I think the NQ has the most ability to stay strong today. But currently, right now, you can see that Apple is sitting up in an area where we talked about yesterday, that the 175 kind of set up more for sells today, especially with that employment number. And then Tesla, also the same thing, has rallied back up into that same area of selling. And last time it came here, it also pushed down. So although Google's great, 2 of the other big giants in that sector are not doing great. And if people lump on and say, but wait a second, we're losing jobs, this could be a big deal. So as much as I'd love to say definitely go long NQ, it is the strongest, but with any negativity, it is at an area where we are seeing selling and it's already pulling back. YM, kind of similar. YM ended up slicing through again, 1 hit, 2 hits, 3 hits in base. We knew this was going to break after that point. Actually, it was 1 hit here, 2 hit here, 3 hit here, and then this was just getting rid of the rest of the people, and it's kind of going a little bit higher at this point. But again, we mentioned the long from 34,794. It obviously went up. What I would do now is drop this down 15 minutes, see what kind of pullbacks we have in the next 30 minutes. This one's a little bit more difficult. There is a bit of an area of sellers right here, and this is not quite enough room to run. We can remove that area right now. But I would say if the negativity really settles in today, this is this level right here is 35,000. So it's a level that, let me change this into something that's like really kind of crazy. We got it. You got to respect it. 35,000 is going to act as a magnet. I'm not going to be able to find one that's good. It's going to drive me crazy. I'll do it later, I guess. But it's going to be a big level no matter what, because it just will suck things in like a magnet. I think that's our target. If we can break through this level here, I would say if we break through 35,190, I think we look for 35,000 we touch. And Russell was high. We actually had this trade here, and it popped up. It came through. It popped up again. The Harry Potter just got initiated. And again, I'm always a little bit concerned about when we're starting to come through in the session open, particularly around news. So technically, I guess it's 6:45, 7 o'clock is when this one finally triggered. It finally broke through, based, and pulled back. It did it right before news, which is typically not the best time of when you want to get into these things. So we'll see how it kind of plays out at this point. But again, we just got
rolling over with everything else on the news, and I guess it also depends on how the retail trader really digests
Yeah, and Russell will be the one that's affected the most. It's private sector jobs. So again, this is the wheelhouse of the Russell. So Russell is currently the weak. Actually, it's not the weakest. YM is down 0.05. This is down 0.09. So YM and Russell, the two kind of blue collar, small business, is kind of where it's coming at. So, if you were in this long, I wouldn't do it. I mean, again, trying to get in an entry here right before news is not the best, especially off hours. You typically want to take these trades in any of the indices during U.S. market-based hours. So just be cautious of those. And again, the VIX is down, but you're seeing the market's going to drop as well, and it's actually starting to stabilize.
And do remember the big jobs number is really this Friday. So
this is just private sector. I mean, the government, the amount of people that the government, hires and is controlled. Remember last time when we look at the ADP numbers here, they were 800,000 last time, right? Scroll forward and we look at the actual real number of it. Here you go, right here. Last time it was 199. So you're like, wait a second, how was one 807 and this one was 199? Remember, this is the total number of everything, excluding the farm ministry. So this is really the big one. Now, my question is, right here 20 hours ago, you can see that the White House was over here lowering expectations. Yesterday, they were saying, hey, listen, numbers are going to be bad this week, guys.
Well, on that data, I'm still kind of curious what we're going to get on Friday.
Yeah. So I don't know. My take is I don't think the White House should be releasing. And again, how many people have seen this data beforehand? We mention all the time that there are people that have the data, guys, before you see it. So you should not be trying to play a number and react to it. This guy right here, the director of Joe Biden's National Economic Council, says it's going to be confusing. There's going to be job losses this week. The numbers are going to be bad. So he obviously knew what the numbers were. How many other people got to see that? So trade what you see on the chart, not what you see over here as far as expectations.
As a reaction.
This doesn't matter. A lot of times the reason why we see it moving is because people have the data ahead of time, right? It's not a fair playing field. So again, that's how you trade the news for the rest of the week. So again, crude oil, the data is already out. Look for the price action before the release is out there. Again, we have the API. You're seeing oil spike right now. Again, that's if it's spiking this much, again, that's based off of OPEC. I'd be looking for a reversal back down again. This is a parabolic move.
Right. And remember, that's at 10:30 this morning, 10:30 a.m. this morning Eastern.
Yep. And same thing tomorrow morning before we get on. You have two monetary policy statements, the pound and the euro, both trade them in short binaries. There's not going to be a lot of extra juice stacked in because, again, remember, options are taken from the U.S. volatility market and futures. At 7 a.m., we don't have a lot of volatility in futures, even though there's a little. So there'll be a little extra, but again, short duration, 7 a.m. Go play this tomorrow morning.
All right. Well, with that, any questions for Nadex, please email us, customerservice@nadex.com. Any questions for Brian, you can catch him at support@keeptradingsimple.com. My email address is on there as well, todd.rich@IG. At least it's that way for a little while longer. We'll see. Hopefully that, and if you're not aware, IG has agreed to sell Nadex to crypto.com. So that deal is working on being closed, hopefully sooner rather than later.
I mean, I'll take a Brian to crypto.com. I mean, that would be the last thing anybody would ever believe, but that would be cool.
Nadex by crypto.com.
No, I want Brian, just Brian, BRYAN at crypto.com. Just that. That's my goal for 2020.
And what did we cover today? Really, we had the ADP payrolls. Private sector jobs down. We're continuing to see some dollar weakness, and energies are on the move. Watch oil popping higher. Remember, we got that 10:30 a.m. report. Yep. We're seeing nat gas higher. Brian and I will be back again tomorrow morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Please let us know what we can be doing to help you out along the way, or if there's any improvements you'd like to see or changes or things you'd like to see. We are all ears, and we will see you then. Good luck in the markets, everyone.